For women who are getting married and starting a family, prenup is a fantastic idea.
The care work is what it's called, has a value as well. So just because you're not earning doesn't mean that you're not adding value to your contributing.
Don't lay it down just because you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife.
Our final segment for today's podcast is Women and Wealth. And my first question is for Gaston. My question is, in the realm of personal finance, what unique challenges do women face? And what strategies can empower them to build and grow their wealth?
Good question. Firstly, what I would say is to have independence. Now, especially if you're married or whether you're about to get married or you're single now and you're going to get married later, you have to separate your finances from your spouse. You have a separate account. Maybe you're contributing to the household, in terms of utilities or whatever. You share the expenses. However, you don't merge the accounts. You have your finances, he has his finances, and you both come together equal. I don't know now, but in the olden days, it was always the man who controlled the finances and women had just contribute everything. The whole paycheck goes to the spouse. Best way is to separate the two. Whether you're contributing, how much you're contributing, how much is he contributing, and so on and so forth. And also equalization. If for some reason, if your spouse or significant other, I'm not selecting a gender in this case, if your partner is making more money than you, then you shouldn't have to be contributing 50% into the equation of running your matrimonial or running your joint house. Equalize, hey, you are at this income bracket, so you could be able to put this much. I don't have to be equal in contributing, or you take the higher mortgage payment and so on and so forth. So the foundation is to separate the two accounts and keep it separated. And for women who are getting married and starting a family, prenup is a fantastic idea. You know what the prenup does. So prenup is a crucial thing. And whether you're an entrepreneur, you're having wealth and you're building wealth, it's good to have a prenup so that you start off, not making things complicated for yourself. And even acquiring assets. If you're the one who is borrowing money for an asset, appreciating asset, for example, there's depreciating assets and appreciating assets. So if you're buying an investment property or if you're buying a house or land to build a house later, and you're the one, the female, the woman is the one who's putting the down payment and you're borrowing on your credit, the land should be on your name, not on a joint name, because you're the one who's starting this one. So when you build it, you do the same process. You paid off, or you paid 80% of the land is paid off now. Now you want to build it, build a house on it, start a home. You're the one who's going to apply. And you're the one who's getting the mortgage. So separating that gives you that power without the joint part of things. That's one of the key things that I can think of.
Is there anything that you would like to add to it?
A bit of a controversial topic. I definitely agree with what Gaston said. If at all, the debate in my head would be whether it's equal contribution or contribution according to your sort of income, like you said.
I always say equal, based on the equalization. If one is making more money, obviously you should be contributing more towards the household. In fairness, it could be the one side of your partnership that's making more money, and not the other. So you equalize it based on the income of the other, and that keeps changing. The formula keeps changing. But one thing you don't do as a spouse or significant other or partner is that, here's my paycheck, you run the finances. So the paycheck goes to the spouse's account or your partner's account, and one person controls it. That's a big no-no. I know when you're in love, you want to give away everything. You just got married, you're in honeymoon state, you want to give away everything. You have to have your independence. So when it comes to a birthday or your mother's birthday or parents' birthday, you can go with your money and buy something and, gift it to them, whether it's you're sending flowers or something small, but it's your money as a female or a partner in a relationship. And even if it's your significant other or your spouse's birthday or anniversary or something, you can take them out for dinner. I'm going to treat you for dinner today, because you have that independent account and independent funds from the family funds. That's crucial. I don't know now how it works in Sri Lanka, but in older days it was always the man who controlled everything. I'm the breadwinner of the family. There's nothing called breadwinner of the family. It's both are equal partners in a relationship. If there's a he or she or whoever it is, it's an equal relationship, and you equalize it based on income.
What you also have to realize is that if you take, for example, a couple where one spouse is sort of stay at home, the work that they do, the care work is what it's called, has a value as well. So just because you're not earning doesn't mean that you're not adding value to you're contributing to.
That's a full-time job by itself.
so
Bringing
glad you
up
guys
kids
say
and
that.
running a household is a full-time job.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job, and that has to be placed under some value, and that's where the equalization comes into play. This is something you have to set up at a very early stage of your relationship. Let's say you're about to get married and then you bring up a prenup and separate account and this and that, there's going to be trouble, or there's going to be questions. You don't trust me, is that why you're doing this? So in your early stage of your relationship, you have to, you're just starting to date and say, what, these are certain guidelines that I have, that I value. I hope you have no problem with that. And sort of gently massage it into your relationship about having separate finances and being independent. You're not dependent on each other, you can stand on your own feet.
What I think you're saying is also, when you're young, like we can talk about the different ages, right? When you're young, I think looking back at my life, I'm thinking, you need to be clear on how you want to live your life, right? And either way, like it can work if you have good communication skills, right? So when you have a plan, you say, this is how I want, like you said, buying something for my mom, where I don't have to ask you. It's something that there's a sense of fulfillment that comes from you when you know that you're giving it out of your, income. So having that plan in your mind, okay, this is going to happen, so this is how I'm going to approach my partner on this subject, this is how I want to do it. And then if you find that partner where you can be supportive of each other in terms of your shared goals and how you want to live, communication, I think, is very key. I think in how, and what you said, Shane, about the non-financial aspects of actually having a partnership. Like, it's understood in my household, it's understood, okay, there are certain things that I'm going to handle so that will relieve you of your time in doing these things, and
so
then
you can use that time
so it's like, it's never like 50-50. I think we're stepping into another area now. But wealth is obviously connected to how your partnership is as well, because if you have common goals, then you grow together as well. It's not one person you need the help of, like I think I was telling someone about Michelle Obama and Obama, right? If not for Michelle's plan for the future and her support, Obama wouldn't have come up to where, so it depends. As women also, we have a pivotal role to play. Don't play it down just because you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife. There is of course, like religion or something can come into play. There is a certain path that you have to take your family, and you play a key role in guiding your partner in achieving that, right? So communication, I think, at a young age, when you think about, like, nowadays young girls are really smart, they're not going to like get married really quickly and give up their lifestyle, right? So they know. So when you know that this is what you have to do, if you have a plan and you find that partner who you can have a conversation with and have that support in, this is what I want to do, and can we do this, and like you said, don't spring it up like at the last minute. So that's why these financial things are also really key thing when you have that conversation, when you have relationship, to keep in mind, right? So
there's a phrase that says, behind every successful person there's another successful partner who's supporting. So it could be, I'm not using a gender in this case, but behind every successful person, there's another person supporting and guiding you and supporting. So that's like, helping each other out. But that independence is very, very crucial. Maybe you have reached a level of successful entrepreneur, maybe you're just starting off, but early stage of your relationship, this should be brought up, and that guidelines and rules and guidelines should be set in place so that you are not anybody's dependent. You are independent person. Yes, you are in a relationship, you love each other, you are contributing to the household and so on and so forth after equalization, but this is the early discussion that you're having so that you're not dependent on anybody. As a woman entrepreneur or a woman, in any relationship.
It's very insightful. Thank you. My next question is for you, Karisma. Can you highlight, similar to the last question that I asked you, can you highlight a success story of a woman who achieved financial independence, and what do you think the key decisions they made were that led them to that stage?
Yeah, I think I can think of a few people that I actually spoke to as well, in terms of, it starts with some of these people, it's their passion. They started with, what am I good with, and what is something that I do anyway, even if I don't get paid for it, right? And it just starts with a simple decision. I'm going to do this. Next step is committing to it, right? How, no matter what obstacles come up, what are you doing day in, day out to reach that goal? These people, they're really committed in what they're doing, and it's like you think about it when you eat, sleep, think, thinking about this. So that's one thing. And also another thing, being a non-linear thinker, being creative. I think we had this discussion offline. You have to be really creative in how you like these days it's about social media. You can't go back to the old ways of doing things. You have to move with the times. So you have to be very creative in how, like we talked about offline, in terms of rebranding, if something is not working, how are you going to do it? So it's always having that creative thinking is, I think, very important in terms of finding that niche market where you can fit into, and then being creative in how you address that gap. So
very good point. I'm going to bring up an example. Kim Kardashian. Everybody knows Kim Kardashian. She's wealthy already, and she started being successful marketing her clothing line, cosmetics, promoting her modeling career, and she got married to somebody rich. Still, their finances are separate. And going back to your creativeness, when emojis first came out, she came up with Kimojis.
Line of emojis.
First hour of launching Kimojis, she made millions. It was only $1 to download the app to get her Kimojis, she called
Kimojis.
it. First hour, she made millions of dollars because so many people, it's only $1, so everybody downloaded, hey, I do it, it's only $1. But in terms of her followers and her fan base, she made millions of dollars. So you said thinking outside the box. She thought outside the box. Emojis are everybody's using emojis, I'll start Kimojis. So a person who has independent financing and being creative, I really admire her marketing skills and promoting herself and promoting a line. If you take all these young musicians, they are all capitalizing on whether it's their manager guiding them or them guiding themselves, but they're all marketing themselves really well. If you take Ariana Grande, for example, female artist, young, started off as an actress in the most comedic roles, and then turned into singer/actress. Now she's launching cosmetics, fragrances, clothing line, you name it. So diversifying, going back to that and saying, finding the niche market and capitalizing. It's like making hay while the sun shines.
And I think what you refer to is like having that right team behind you, even if it's financial or if it's, your parents or, like somebody who really thinks like something different to what you're thinking, and also being teachable. A lot of these people, some of the people that I know are not teachable, and so in that way they don't grow and reach the next level. So I think it's very important as women to achieve financial independence that you remain teachable at every stage of your career or your life, and having that right team around you.
student mentality.
Yes,
Yeah,
always. You
student
never stop learning. You
Learning,
never stop
yeah.
learning. Yeah. So these are some of the things. So commitment, creating a plan, finding a niche, and catering to that, and non-linear thinking, creative thinking, and being teachable, and having a good team behind you.
Yeah, thanks. And the final question for today is for Shane. How can financial education be tailored to better address the specific needs and goals for women, and the role that mentorship plays in that context?
Yeah, so I would first look at the unique financial challenges that are faced specifically by women. One is obviously maternity and childbirth, care burden, which especially in a Sri Lankan context falls predominantly on the women, that is caring for elders as well as children. And there is also a problem of pay gap, like gender gap, pay gap. So that is if you're doing the same role, same tasks as your male counterpart, but you're getting paid less, which I think is improving day by day, but it's still a big problem. So if you just take those problems and look at how financial education can maybe counter that, I would say one of the first things that we can do is maybe have flexible learning hours, because one of the main problems that women have is the difficulty in committing time. Time, maybe you have to, it could be, and also at different stages the time commitments are different. At maternity it could be different, at when your children are smaller it could be different, if you have to care for elders it could be different. So having flexible learning hours gives you the opportunity to learn at your own pace. You can be, you can pause and interrupt and go do something else in between. So all of these sort of opportunities come in with the flexible learning hours. And it also enables women to capitalize on time that they would usually be at home. For example, if you take maybe maternity leave, usually if someone was working beforehand, they take 3 months, or maybe you might even take a service break where you leave the job for a year or two. This time I wouldn't say unproductive, but you're not learning anything new, whereas you could actually use this opportunity to improve your skills, to learn something new, and this along with your care responsibilities can be done if there is an opportunity for flexible learning. Flexible learning hours and also flexible learning formats. So this I think has come up a lot in the last few years, especially with COVID. After the pandemic, there's been so many virtual methods of learning, so many tools that we didn't, or maybe we did have, but we didn't use it before, like Zoom, Teams, so many. I mean, it's the exactly, like so many ways to work remotely, collaborate remotely, which really opens up the possibilities. Someone could work from home, but these new and innovative tools also really bring up a lot of opportunities in terms of learning as well. So finally, to look at the gender pay gap, this is not something that can be changed very easily. It's a sort of systemic and cultural problem, specifically in Sri Lanka. But financial education is one of the main ways where you can sort of reduce this pay gap. So how you can improve this is by including into the curriculum skills like negotiation, confidence, which will allow a woman going in, maybe after a service break or after maternity leave, maybe if you're looking for a new job, to renegotiate skills better and to reduce that pay gap. And
Sorry,
you asked one more question on the mentorship.
What sort of role mentorship would play? How important it would be
So I think mentorship has or can play a pivotal role because women obviously will be able to relate better to the problems that they face, and a woman would also be more open to receive feedback from another woman. It could be things like tips on maybe promoting work-life balance, which is one of the sort of more difficult things when it comes to women. How to manage your responsibilities in terms of work and care work. But yeah, so overall, if you take mentorship, it can play like a very significant role, and I hope there will be various opportunities that maybe NGOs and the government can really do to. And I know even right now there are female-centric organizations that actually do provide this stuff, but to give them more access to reach a wider audience, I hope this will actually improve.
So I want to touch on one of the points you said, negotiating and equalization of wages for women versus male versus female. Negotiating is a crucial part of it for women. You should be confident, bold, and negotiate. I'll just give an example that happened to me. I left the corporate world and started becoming an entrepreneur. Something I missed from the corporate world is a training that the corporation was sending me to various seminars and various books I would read and debrief to staff and so on and so forth. That's one thing I missed when I went into being an entrepreneur. So I thought, no, I had to stay on top of this. So I started paying and going for leadership courses. So at one of the courses, I met one of the famous ex-presidents of the country, and his topic, and he was not a president at that time, his topic was negotiating and how confidently you should negotiate. And he said, when you negotiate, of course he spoke for about an hour. Yeah. So when you negotiate, if you don't feel embarrassed by the offer you are making, whether you're buying or whether you're negotiating a salary, if you don't feel embarrassed, that you feel this embarrassment in your gut, you have not done well. Don't be shy. You have to feel uncomfortable in what you're asking. So as a woman, if you're at an interview, you've been offered a certain wage, you should be asking for an amount, not just 2% higher, exorbitantly higher, that you think this person might throw me out of the interview room. If you don't feel like that, that means you have not negotiated well. So after he spoke for about an hour, there was a Q&A period. Everybody had a microphone and we could speak, and our names were written on top. So my name was written on top. I always like to be the first person to ask a question. So I said, could you give an example of you doing something you just said now? Because people can always talk and give you fluff and not. So if the person has a true example of what the person just presented, he gets all the confidence and then look in the eye and confidently say, just like I thought, he was confident, he said, I'll give you a good example. And he said that, this was former President Donald Trump, before he became president, when he was Donald Trump. He said, for Apprentice, Fox offered him $1 million per episode. And $1 million per episode is a fantastic payout. You're talking $1 million a week, basically.
This was back in 2000.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a lot of money. So when Fox offered him $1 million, he said, are you joking? And he said, well, this is not enough. And the Fox executives, the team of directors asked, what do you want? He said, I need $5 million. I said, are you joking? Are you a comedian? Why do you want $5 million? Where are you coming up with this number? Justify. And he said, well, how much are you paying Friends? At that time, Friends were running at the same time. Then Friends, they were paying $1 million. He said, we are paying $1 million per actor, lead. Well, he said, well, there's 5 actors at Friends, $5 million. I'm the only actor here. $5 million to me. What's wrong with that? That's how I justify. Guess what? Fox paid him $5 million per episode. So I paid a lot of money to learn this. I mean, there were so many other leaders, Richard Branson, so many leaders were there. So I spent a day to hang out with these guys and learn something. And I thought I had to put this money that I spent to use. So I started negotiating when I'm purchasing and negotiating really hard, negotiating in such a way that I'm embarrassed that these people might think ridiculous things about me. But I didn't care. I had to recover that expense. And you have no idea what I've gotten in negotiating hard. I need to practice that with my tea supplier, Shane.
So did you have like a figure in your mind before you went, and then did you have to talk your way through it?
No. The figure came at the discussion of what they're offering.
So is it based on what they offer, and then you counter based on that?
And based on that you counter. But when you counter, you ask the most ridiculous offer.
So did you have that in your mind when you went for the meeting, or is it
all I knew was that I'm going to make an offer that is embarrassing, that my stomach would feel butterflies in my stomach.
Okay.
So former President Donald Trump said, you should feel it in your gut, the embarrassment of what you're asking. So if somebody says, I'll give you 60 days credit, you're going to say, can I have 120 days credit? I mean, that's something that you get thrown out of the conference room for asking that. And yeah, you could do that. And I've practiced it many times. And I've always came out strong in that, because my initial concept was I need to recover the money and time that I spent for this conference, because it wasn't cheap. But I think I've recovered way more than that policy. So women, when you negotiate, if to make their pay equal, you should ask the most exorbitant one confidently, and the person at the interview side will think, wow, this person asked me I'm offering the person, I don't know the number, let's say 50,000 a month, and this girl is asking me 80,000 a month. Maybe I should give her 70,000 a month. That was higher than the initial offer. Pay. Yeah.
That's actually very good advice. Yeah. So with that, we come to the end of our podcast. Before we conclude, I'd like to give each of you maybe 2 to 3 minutes to speak a bit about, maybe something to the effect of closing remarks. If you all could, speak about the 3 parts that we had, maybe like an overall.
Yeah. I think one key point, I think Shane started this topic initially, is that separate envelope for your income, having a disappearing pre-authorized amount of, you said 10%, as a guideline, but it can be more depending on your expenses. Having that account is crucial. The day your pay comes into the account, deposit, that money goes out. So what you see is without that saving 10% or whatever the number is, but you're comfortable. 10 should be the minimum, I think, but whatever you can put over and above, and you don't see that money, and you don't want a debit card or credit card against that account, which has easy access to the money, to make it difficult. That's one of the key things both of you touched on, and I strongly agree on that you have no idea how fast that money grows. Yeah, for sure. That's one key point. Can I jump in on to mention also the second key point? The second key point for women entrepreneurs or women early relationship, your financial independence. I mean, I have 2 daughters, so I always have told this. I have being not having any sons, that you have to be independent. You're not dependent on your significant other, your partner, your spouse, or whoever. You have your finances. He or she has their finances, or the partner has their finances separately, but you equalize it and you come together to run your household. So I've always said that independence is crucial. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working for an organization, you're about to get into a relationship, it's best to pick it out, set the guidelines and the precedents at the beginning of your relationship, not just before you get engaged on it, not the day of the proposal or whatever. By the way, I need this.
And that's, I think, important. I think one of the main reasons that couples get divorced is because of the financial things, right? So it makes sense to think about it beforehand and have your own plan in your mind so that you can be independent, but at the same time have that discussion early on in how you're, either you're going to play a role in creating wealth, or what you see in the future. It's, so have that conversation and have that understanding in your mind, I think is, and also like Shane mentioned, finding good mentors, I think is always key. Talking to people, like studying businesses, and if there are any women that you can, have access to, just having that conversation, because you don't have to reinvent the wheels most times, right? You can talk about it, learn from them, I think there's a need actually in Sri Lanka as well. I'm also not sure if there are, like, to have like good, strong women mentors for businesses, work-life balance. That'll be a good thing to have, I think.
Yeah, as a closing remark, I would like to once again emphasize on the importance of planning. I started off with this and I want to end with this as well. I think regardless of the area that we were discussing, whether it's personal finance, entrepreneurial finance, or whether it's women and finance, wherever you go, having a plan is one of the most important steps, because that really sets down the framework of what you're working for. It always reminds you of your objectives. And even if you take just our last topic on the women and financial education, maybe a service break or maternity, you have some sort of expectation, and that's with the plan that you can come out of it sort of stronger with more skills, and you can use those the negotiation skills to get something better out of it. But you have to also use that opportunity to develop your own personal development as well. So all of that comes finally down to planning, in my opinion. Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you're female or male. If you're negotiating something, you should negotiate so that you feel embarrassed by the offer that you're negotiating. Then you should feel that embarrassment in your gut, like you feel butterflies in your stomach that you're asking. Because if you're so comfortable negotiating offer that you put, you have not done well.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Taking time. I'm sure all of you.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure.
Really busy, so thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you all again. Thank you. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to like and subscribe to the GEP YouTube channel. And we also have a bunch of very interesting practical short courses which are related to the episodes from the podcast. So stay tuned.